Hello. There we go. Hello and welcome. Let me just double check. This is going, isn't it? This is like, yeah, there we go. Hello everyone. Hello and welcome to another Fantasy Haven live stream. It's your boy, once again, the late Lord Haven. Man, that intro's getting corny now, isn't it? I need to come up with something new. Anyway, yes, I am late. I'm 20 minutes late to this live stream. Ooh, that's we've had worse. We've had 40 minutes. 10 is usually what I aim around. I aim to be 10 minutes late. Hooray! As I said last stream, new PC, that means 2 monitors, that means Streamlabs is up. You can see the chat, it's all beautiful, it's not going to randomly crash. How are we all going? Yes, I finally made it. Okay, so, today we're going to be breaking down the Battle of Steel. So, I did the Battle of Steel video, the animated one, and for this live stream, just like I did with the Battle of Ice previously, last month, I'll just be running through each sort of facet of this, looking at it from various angles, the context, the build-up, the factions, the characters involved, what the aftermath might be, etc., etc. So everything I explored in the video, but just going into a bit more detail and answering your questions. Speaking of, this is my job for some reason. This is my entire career. So if you want to support the channel financially, then feel free to send in some super chats to ask me questions or get me to do stuff. Say something dumb out loud. I don't know. It's up to you. We already have a super chat. Awesome. And if you want to send something else, you can send a Streamlabs donation. The link should be in the description. Streamlabs is basically what I'm streaming through. It means that you can send in a donation and I receive 100% of it. So everything you send is received by me, whereas with a super chat, even though I do appreciate them, YouTube takes a cut of it, which is kind of annoying. So yeah, super chats and donations, or if you don't want to do either, you just want to sit back, relax, and have fun in the chat, then go ahead. I know people like to listen to my live streams, well, because obviously, for me, in the UK, these live streams are like early evening, but they're kind of mid-afternoon for Americans, so some of you are like working while listening to these, which is quite fun. And not everyone's listening to this live, obviously. In fact, most of you won't be listening to it live, would you? But yeah, you can support the video in other ways, like, subscribe, comment afterwards. It's boring. I gotta go through all the boring stuff at the beginning where I'm like and subscribe. I gotta hurry up and spend too long on this. Let's focus. Okay, let's begin. Dun, 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 dun. The invasion. First off, we have to talk about the invasion itself, which happens in A Dance with Dragons. Thank you for the super chat from Iron H, who says, Haven, I wish to be adopted by you. In that case, you are hereby adopted. I was about to say adopted. You are hereby adopted. Yeah, you can be... What's a cooler Song, Vice and Fire name? Jonathan. You know, Jonathan Darry? You can be Jonathan Haven. That's you. You're now adopted by the late Lord. UK, don't you mean Guantanamo Bay? Oh, my bad, yes. I meant over here in my pirate radio ship, circling around Guantanamo Bay, where I stream from. Yes, it is, in fact, for some reason, early afternoon. Okay. Focus. The invasion. So, quick backstory. Young Griff. Right, we have Aegon Targaryen. Supposedly, he is the son of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, because Rhaegar had Prince Aegon and Princess Rhaenys. Supposedly, Prince Aegon, as an infant, was smashed against a wall by Sir Gregor Clegane, and Rhaenys was stabbed to death 100 times by Sir Aemry Lorch, both of these being the unleashed mad dogs of Tywin Lannister. They're both landed knights from the Westerlands. And during the sack of King's Landing, yeah, they did a whole bunch of war crimes. But supposedly, according to Varys, he swapped the babies out. He swapped out the real Aegon for the son of a butcher or a blacksmith. I think it was a butcher. And so Gregor Clegane allegedly killed a random peasant, commoner, small folk baby. And the real Aegon was whisked away to Essos, to be raised as the perfect king. So he's given Horden Half-Maester, who's going to teach him about history and poetry and the art of war and the art of politicking and all that stuff. Meanwhile, Scepter Scepter Lamore is teaching him all about the intricacies of the Faith of the Seven. He's got Sir Rolly Duckfield teaching him swordplay. John Connington teaching him strategy. And what else do we have? Oh, yes. Varys says this. Before Varys kills... He reveals all this to Kevin Lannister before killing him with a crossbow bolt. He says... Not to be confused with Kevin Lannister. If anyone's seen my latest Valentine's Day video. Anyway. Yeah, he's... I've completely lost my train of thought. I can't do a single live stream without the dog next door barking. It's ridiculous. Where was I? Yes. Oh, and he's also, fishing. He's taught how to fish with the commoners and to interact with the commoners. The idea being that he's an expert in everything a great ruler needs. He's been moulded from wet clay into, Jaehaerys reborn. And with a hint of Aegon V, he's been taught to care about the small folk, the common people, because he's interacting with them and he's hunting and he's fishing and, he's not being raised in privilege. And so for Varys and Illyrio, he is the perfect king. Of course, there's all kinds of theories about whether he is actually a Targaryen or if he's just a random pisswater prince who is, a complete nobody, who's being maybe like the son of a Lyseni whore or something, a silver-haired, purple-eyed kid who's been raised to believe he is in fact a prince, a bit like Perkin Warbeck, who pretended to be one of the princes in the Tower, one of the nephews of King Richard III, who mysteriously died in the Tower, then Richard III took over. But it might be even more complex than that. He might actually be a Blackfire, and if you've seen my Blackfire videos, you'll know what that's all about. He could be descended from through the female line, where there are theories that Illyrio Mopatis' ex-wife Sarah was actually Sarah Blackfire, and their child together is Aegon, and they're basically pushing for him to be a Targaryen, knowing that the realm will never accept a Blackfire, but doing it as, both to empower themselves and to have what they consider to be a good monarch on the throne, but also as a show of love to his dead wife, right? And then Varys is friends with Illyrio. There's also a rumour Varys might be a Blackfire, but we're going into weird theories. I've already done a Blackfire iceberg theory, so let's focus. Aegon, whether he's a Targaryen, a Blackfire or a Pisswater Prince, he believes himself to be Aegon the Sixth Targaryen. The plan initially... Oh, and he has the support of John Connington, an exiled lord, and the Golden Company. And initially he's going to marry Daenerys Targaryen. The plan is to travel all the way up to Meereen and say, "Hey Daenerys, you're my aunt, you have 3 dragons and an army, I have an army, let's marry, I rule as king, you rule as queen, Jaehaerys and Alysanne reborn, baby, let's go. We're Targaryen, so the incest is allowed." However, they hear all kind of stuff about, is she a little bit crazy? She's so far away. Is she even going to marry him? Is she going to join his cause? And Aegon's like, you know what? After some prompting from Tyrion earlier on in the story, he's like, you know what? Why are we wasting our time doing this? All of Illyrio's plans keep falling through. Let's strike while the iron is hot. Let's attack Westeros now. And if Daenerys wants to join us after, that's fine. But let's attack Westeros now. And so Aegon and the Golden Company say, let's go. And of course, this is being pushed along by John Connington, who wants to succeed as fast as possible. Right? He is streamlining this because he's been infected with grayscale, and he knows it's going to kill him, and it's spreading through his arm. And he's like, let's get him. Let me see him on the throne before I die. Let me make up for losing the Battle of the Bells. Let me make up for the death of Rhaegar by helping his son, alleged son, get on the Iron Throne. So they abandon the plot to marry Daenerys. Aegon and the Golden Company invade Westeros. But where do they go? Where do you go? Do you go to the north? No, that doesn't make any sense, right? That makes no sense. You don't go to the north. You have to go to the south of Westeros. So what's on the eastern coast of Westeros? You've got the Vale. They could invade the Vale, but the Vale hasn't seen any war, really, because the Vale has stayed neutral. And also, you have all those mountains. There's not much sympathy there necessarily to the Targaryen cause, so the Vale's kind of pointless. Going down from the Vale, you have the Crown Lands. Well, obviously the Crown Lands are directly controlled by the Iron Throne, so that'll be a bit difficult. But then to the south of the Crown Lands, you have the Stormlands and Dorne. Now, they could invade via Dorne. They could say, hey, Doran Martell, we know you hate the Lannisters because of the death of Elia and her kids. We know that the Iron Throne is crumbling. Team up with us. Maybe Aegon can marry Arianne. We join forces and we'll invade upwards from Dawn. But they specifically go against... They decide not to do that because they think the political ramifications and the optics of that are too dangerous and could scupper their invasion from the get-go. Think about it. The Westerosi generally don't like the Dornish, right? To the north of Dawn, they don't like them very much. There's still lots of xenophobia against the Dornish people. So the idea of suddenly there's an invasion coming from Dawn, supported by Prince Martell, it would kind of be seen less of a Targaryen restoration and more of a Dornish invasion of the rest of the Seven Kingdoms. So they decide to do something else, which is, let's invade the Stormlands. Let's attack the Stormlands. It'll be an easy landing, right? You don't have like mountains or anything. It'll be an easy landing, and we can surprise attack. And this is how they surprise attack, by the way. They don't charge in with like big golden banners. We are the Golden Company. Haha, we are here to, or what? All big Targaryen banners. No, what they do, what the Golden Company does, is they just have plain banners. Like, you know, if anyone spots them, oh, it's merchant ships or I don't know, is it adventurers? What are they? No one knows who they are. So the fleet comes over with no resistance. One, because like I said, they're disguising their banners, and two, because there is no royal fleet right now protecting them. The royal fleet was stolen by Oren Waters. So Cersei Lannister, when ruling as the Queen Regent, rather disastrously, and I pointed out. I made reference to Quinn GM's video about all of Cersei's mistakes in Feast for Crows. Go check that out if you haven't seen it already. But she appoints a young Valyrian bastard called Oren Waters, who's a bit of a scoundrel and a rogue. He builds up a fleet, gets rid of all the experienced captains and staffs it with sort of like criminals and con men and like his buddies. And then when shit hits the fan in King's Landing, he goes, I'm out. He takes the fleet with him and probably sets up a pirate kingdom in the Stepstones. So the Narrow Sea is empty. And of course, in terms of other fleets, the Red Wine fleet in the Reach is busy dealing with the Ironborn. So for now, the Golden Company just going right across the Narrow Sea, just rushing across the Narrow Sea. Boom, surprise attack. By the time they land, no one knows what's going on. And when they do find out that there are sellswords, they don't think much of it. So when Kevin Lannister first hears about the Golden Company landing, they go, oh, okay, well, probably Stannis Baratheon, right? Stannis has hired some people, we'll take care of them, it can't be a big deal. They don't even know it's Targaryen related. So it's all, you know, they're keeping that hidden initially, to prevent any kind of desperate response. If it's Stannis, then it's kind of more of the same. But they land, well, here's the thing. The invasion can't be too easy, otherwise it's a bit unrealistic. So actually, the forces are scattered by a storm. The forces aren't destroyed, although a whole bunch of elephants are killed. But the forces aren't destroyed, they're just scattered. So a bunch of forces land in the free city of Lys. Some of the forces land on Tarth. Some of them land on the island of Estamont. Most of them arrive at their proper destination, which is Cape Wrath. And in Cape Wrath, they set up camp and they wait for all the rest of the Golden Company to arrive, and then they break off into groups and start seizing various castles to build up momentum. It's all about momentum. And then by the end of Dance with Dragons, and we'll go into the aftermath of the invasion a bit more later on, but they've seized a bunch of castles and houses. John Connington seizes Griffin's Roost with Sir Mervyn Flowers and other members of the Golden Company. And again, I'll talk about it later. I'll talk about it a bit later. But they take Griffin's Roost, and then they officially announce, boom, Aegon Targaryen, Golden Company, let's go. And their next target is Storm's End. Because not only would it be a proper strategic victory, a big, powerful castle, like impenetrable castle, supposedly, and it'll be a great base for a Team Aegon to stay in, right? Because there's plenty of provisions, they'd be able to outlast a siege, etc. It's also a sort of a moral victory. It's, we have taken the capital of the Stormlands. We have taken the seat of House Baratheon. And it could endear a lot of the Westerosi nobles to their cause. Hey, everyone hates Stannis. Well, guess what? We've captured Storm's End, which the Tyrells and Lannisters weren't able to do, by the way. Tommen didn't do it. I did it. I've taken Storm's End. I've killed the Baratheons inside it. Boom. Support me. I'm a more competent king. Not Mervyn Flowers, sorry. Franklin Flowers. So Franklin Flowers. I got mixed up. It's a very long story. Yeah, and so here we have Aegon facing Mace Tyrell, because the big Battle of Steel is basically going to be Aegon versus Mace if it goes the way we suspect. And that's Sir Gilbert Farring in the back. Sir Gilbert Farring being the cousin of Sir Godry Farring. House Farring are Stormland House. Are the Farring Stormlanders or Crownlanders? They're Stormlanders, right? Yeah. Wait. Huh. I think they're Stormlanders. Who support Stannis Baratheon, so he left behind Castellan for Storm's End. Anyway, moving on. Let's break down the teams now. Let's properly dive into each character. That'll be on either side of this upcoming Battle of Steel. Before we do that, we do have a super chat from James Ryan. Thanks so much, James. James says, "You and your content has helped me through some very tough times as I recover from surgery, so thank you." That's awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Do you think Feast and Dance could have been combined if you trim the fat? That's the ultimate question. Could it have been combined? Should it have been combined? I think you'd have to trim a lot of fat, and in doing so, you might risk cutting into some of the muscle and the bone. But I think it could have been done, yes. I mean, there is a combination called the Boiled Leather edition, where someone took all the chapters from Feast and all the chapters from Dance and tried to sort them into chronological order as best they could, and it's a mountain of a book. Apparently, from what I've heard, it's a better experience than each of the books individually, right? Because what you have is A Feast for Crows is like the first 3/4 of a story from the perspective of half the characters, and then A Dance with Dragons is most of a story from the perspective of, well, A Dance with the Dragons is like 3/4 of the story from all the other characters, and then the final quarter of Dance is everyone else joining back in for their last quarter, except it doesn't finish because all the conclusions are pushed to Winter. That was a very bad way of saying that. Not super eloquent, but there we go. So yeah, it's Feast and Dance are one book split in half without an ending. So more satisfyingly, if you had that fourth book that was Feast and Dance merged together with an ending, you have to cut a lot. But I think there's a lot that could be cut. You know what I mean? I think there are definitely Ironborn POVs that we do not need. I'm sure there's a lot of Dawn. You don't need the entire Arianne Dornish plot. You just don't. You don't. You can include Dawn. You can include Arianne. But it doesn't. You don't need that entire plot. You don't need. Quentin Martell is particularly egregious. You can completely scrap Quentin, and there's lots of great stuff. There's lots of great stuff in terms of what certain characters to get up to. But you can trim it. I think you can trim some Brienne. You can trim Tyrion. There's lots you could cut down on. It could have been one book. Probably should have been one book. But again, this is the consequence of the time skip, where it was going to be 5-year time skip, then a book, and then he decided to write what came in between that. So, who knows? I really want to do. I was going to do it last year. I really want to do a live stream with Quinn and GM. Maybe this will be our next live stream. It'll be trying to make the 5-year time skip work, going through all the major regions and characters and being like, do they work aged up 5 years? Or does everything kind of collapse? Could George have done this? What are our ideas, you know? But yeah, that was a long answer to your question. I think they could have been combined, and it would mean that we lose a bunch of stuff we just don't need. We'd also lose cool stuff we don't need, and maybe some stuff that... some sacrifices that, like... I don't know. The answer is yes, but I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to be the one responsible for that. Okay, moving on. Team Targaryen. So Aegon, young, handsome monarch. He's been raised to be awesome, although he's proved himself to be kind of impulsive. So we'll see what happens there. He's not really as interesting as someone like Jon Connington. So Jon Connington is, as I said before, during Robert's Rebellion, he was the Hand of the King. He lost at the Battle of the Bells to Robert Baratheon. And, you know, he saw himself as being honourable, right? He was like, I'm not going to attack this city, this town where the Baratheon forces are staying. I'm going to make my arrival known. We're going to have a proper battle. But he lost, and it traumatized him, and he blames himself for the Targaryen regime collapsing and Rhaegar dying and him going into exile and everything changing. He blames himself for that. Excuse me. And so, like I said, he's somewhat traumatized, and he wants to make up for it. And partly because he was in love with Rhaegar Targaryen. It was unrequited love. And so he probably sees Aegon as an extension of Aegon, of Rhaegar, and also, Rhaegar's son, also maybe like a new Rhaegar, that kind of thing. Get him on the throne, avenge the father that he loved. I don't like any of the theories that suggest Jon Con is going to fall in love with Aegon. I think that's very unnecessary. I think it's more interesting for him to be haunted by the shadow of Rhaegar than to project Rhaegar onto Aegon. We already have that with Littlefinger, Catelyn, Sansa dynamic. So he's back with a vengeance, and he's probably not going to be as honourable, because he thinks back to the Battle of the Bells, and he thinks to himself, you know what Tywin would have done? I can't remember if he thinks this or says this to another character. But Jon Connington is like, you know what Tywin would have done? He would have burned instead of doing the Battle of the Bells honourably, he would have charged in at night time when everyone was sleeping and burnt that town to the ground, the army included, the small folk included, and maybe would have been able to kill Robert Baratheon and all the major lords instead of, So there we go. He's back with a vengeance. He's probably going to be far more brutal than he was in Robert's Rebellion. And he's on a timer because he's got grayscale and it's spreading, and so he's like, let's get this done as swiftly as possible. So he's gonna be fast, and maybe he'll emulate some Tywin. So it'll be quite interesting. We have Rolly Duckfield on the left, the boy himself. So Rolly, I don't really dive into his backstory in the main video, but Rolly was the son of a blacksmith, I believe. Or the blacksmith in... Where was it? I think it was the seat of House Caswell. I think it was Caswell in the Reach. He was insulted by the Lord's son, and so he responded by breaking the son's arms and legs with a hammer, just beating him up with a hammer, and then he fled into exile, where he became a sellsword, and he joined the Golden Company. And then by being part of the Golden Company, he came in obviously contact with Jon Connington and that whole plan. We'll talk about that later. And so he ended up being the one... He left the Golden Company and he was assigned to train Aegon. So he's kind of like his sword master. Maybe another of various weird father figures Aegon has. And he's a big red bearded guy. And he was officially made the first member of Aegon's Kingsguard. So he's got a white cloak now. And he's a very good fighter. So in terms of the upcoming Battle of Steel, Aegon said himself he wants to lead the charge. He doesn't want to sit behind castle walls. He wants to go out and fight. He wants people to see him fighting in the midst of battle. Jon Con also wants to be involved. Rolly, no doubt, will be there. Excellent swordsman. And now we're going to look at the rest of the Golden Company. I think I got a super chat earlier. Let me just double check. There we go. Thank you for the super chat from Haven Sand. Presumably my Dornish bastard. I had no clue. Haven Sand says, Game of Thrones Telltale game live when? One day. I do want to do it. I know Glidus and Alt Swift X did it together. And I haven't watched that because I do want to play it myself and I don't want any spoilers necessarily. So but from what they said, it was kind of fun, but also because there's so much dialogue and concentrating to do, they were like, this doesn't really work as a live stream where they're bantering on top of it. I might try it. Quinn and I have talked about doing that together, so we'll do our own version, see if it works. I want to live stream all the Game of Thrones games, as in, I want to live stream Telltale if I can find it somewhere online. I want to live stream the old one from 2011. I want to live stream the upcoming one for next year, which looks like shit. Yeah, that'd be fun. Haven also says, are you the one... Oh, sorry. Also, this isn't a question. Also, you're the one who finally got me into reading the books, and I really love your style. Still waiting to be noticed. Don't worry. my bastard son, I've noticed you now. That's really good to know that I got you into reading the books. Is it? I've heard that quite a bit, actually. That I think people watch the show and they go, oh, cool, these videos are kind of expanding upon A Song of Ice and Fire lore. They realise it's a lot deeper and a lot more interesting than they ever imagined, and then boom, they jump into the books. I wonder if out of interest, Haven Sand, have my characters influenced how you see the characters when you read the book? Obviously, I'm not saying do you imagine them all with no arms and giant eyes and no mouths, because that's terrifying, but do my character drawings influence at all? I don't know, that could be cool. Anyway. Oh, CK3 Game of Thrones when? I've done some CK3 Game of Thrones live streams. They were terrible because I didn't know how to play, but I definitely want to do some in the future. Rest in peace to Miles Toyne, someone says. Okay, let's talk about Miles Toyne. So Miles Toyne is not in this picture. He was the former captain of the Golden Company. Oh wait, hold on. Step back. Let's go back in time. The Golden Company was founded by Sir Aegor Rivers, also known as Bittersteel. He was the bastard son of King Aegon IV, Aegon the Unworthy, and one of his 9 mistresses, one of his 9 official mistresses, right? He bedded lots of women, but of his 9 official, the big ones, Bittersteel was the son of Aegon and Barbara Bracken. And so he grew up into a aggressive, hot-blooded, vengeful man, and he sided with Daemon Blackfyre. And so after Aegon IV died, having legitimised all his bastards on his deathbed... Did I say Aegon Blackfyre? I meant Daemon Blackfyre, my bad. I don't want to insult Bittersteel in the chat, he's always commenting. So Daemon Blackfyre, boom, I won the throne, Bittersteel supported him, and then after Daemon was slain, and the war was lost on the Battle of the Redgrass Field, Bittersteel was like, oh, I'll be back next time, like a Saturday morning cartoon villain, and he fled to Essos and he founded the Golden Company, and they all wear gold and they wear gold cloaks and it's all that stuff. And then he tried several times to re-invade, and every time he kept escaping one way or another, and he died in battle somewhere in Essos, and the skin and muscle was stripped from his head and until it was boiled away till it was just a skull, and the skull was dipped in gold and put upon, raised high on a banner or a standard or something. So what they do to the captains is they dip their heads in gold, which is pretty fucking cool. So the Golden Company was founded by a Targaryen bastard who supported the Blackfyre rebellions, and the Golden Company were involved in the first Blackfyre rebellion, the second Blackfyre rebellion, the first, the third, the fourth, and even the fifth, where the Captain General of the Golden Company during the War of the Ninepenny Kings, aka the Fifth Blackfyre Rebellion, was Meleys the Monstrous. Blackfyre. So Blackfyre became the... Yeah, anyway. Long story short, the Golden Company historically support the Blackfyres. Obviously, the male line of Blackfyre is dead, according to Illyrio. The fact that they're all suddenly supporting Aegon Targaryen, is it because Illyrio paid them a fuck ton of cheese money? Maybe. He's a rich man. Cheese and spices, saffron, silks. Or maybe there's something a bit more ideological beyond the money. Maybe they want a Blackfyre on the throne. And the implication is that it's said that there used to be meetings between Varys, Illyrio, and Sir Miles Toyne. And so John Connington thinks about this, and he's like, I wonder what kind of discussions they had. And there are theories that they all basically agreed. They all basically revealed, yes, Aegon is a Blackfyre, we need to get him on the throne, and those 3 were behind it. Miles Toyne, Varys, Illyrio, and John Connington doesn't even know he's a Blackfyre. No one would know apart from Varys and Illyrio. So yeah, Miles Toyne, for those who don't know, House Toyne, I think they're an extinct house now in terms of holding land and titles and wealth. There was a Terence Toyne on the Kingsguard who slept with Aegon the Unworthy's mistress. Which one? He slept with Bethany Bracken, I think, who was Aegon the Unworthy's 8th mistress, and they were caught abed, and so he was tortured to death. Out of revenge, his family members then tried to assassinate Aegon, and they were defeated by his brother Aemon the Dragon Knight. And so House Toyne has presumably just been crushed now. So Miles Toyne would have been one of the ancestors. See, here's the thing. It's not just that the Golden Company is sort of historically pro-Blackfyre, is that the Golden Company is kind of the company of exiled Westerosi, right? All of the all in terms of all the houses that have been crushed, that have collapsed, that have disappeared, that have been squashed into sort of minor lordship, the brothers and cousins and sons of those houses often flee, and they seek wealth and fortune and fame and glory and maybe even land in the Golden Company. So you have people from House Peak, people from House Mud, allegedly, people from House Toyne, and bastards like Rivers and so on. So yeah, so in my opinion, Aegon is definitely a Blackfire, but that's neither here nor there. The Golden Company are supporting him, that's what matters. Miles Toyne was the original leader, then he died off page before the books begin. Probably because if he were alive, then maybe that complicates the Blackfire issue in terms of, I don't know. But he was succeeded by the new Captain General, who is Harry Strickland. So Harry Strickland is this guy in the middle. You would expect a sellsword company to be led by some crazy charismatic guy, right? So we have Dario Naharis of the Storm Crows, who has the blue hair and the golden moustache and everything, and he's very eccentric. You have the Tattered Prince of the Windblown, who wears all kind of different fabric stitched together. You've got Bloodbeard, who's in charge of the Company of the Cat. Yeah, you've got Brown Ben Plum in charge of is it the Second Sons for him? I can't remember. But yeah, you have all of these charismatic, eccentric sellswords, because those are the most fun ones, right? And so, ironically enough, Golden Company is led by a boring coin counter, right? He's basically just like a small grey bureaucrat who used to be the paymaster and then got elevated to Captain General. My suspicion is because he's such a boring character, he's probably going to get killed off and replaced at some point. He's kind of lame. He's a lot more cautious, right? So he's like, oh yeah, well, hold on, let's wait. Let's wait in the Stormlands for the rest of the company to arrive. Then we attack King's Landing. They're like, no, let's attack King's Landing. Oh no, sorry, Storm's End. Yeah, Harry Strickland says, wait for all of the dispersed members of the Golden Company to regroup, rendezvous at Cape Wrath. Then we attack Storm's End together. And then Aegon and Jon Con are like, no, we don't need them. So he's the more cautious one. To the right, this guy, if you can see my cursor, is Gorys Adorian, who is, I believe, Volantine. I think he's Volantine. He has blood red hair, probably dyed, and an pointed black beard. And he's very pale. And he's the current company paymaster. So he's the guy in charge of the coin. To the left is a Lyseni gentleman called Lysono Mar. He's got classic Valyrian features, as the Lyseni often do. He's got the silvery hair and the purple eyes. He's quite feminine looking. He's got earrings in. Interestingly, in an Arianne sample chapter for the Winds of Winter, when she comes across him, she is freaked out by him, right? Because we know Arianne Martell likes pretty boys. She likes Gerald Dane, and she likes Daemon Sand, etc. She even had a bit of a thing for her uncle, which is weird. But she is freaked out by Lysona Mar. She says there's something alien about him. He's unsettling, which suggests, maybe she's not going to fall for Aegon Targaryen. Maybe they'll join forces anyway in marriage, but it won't be a kind of falling in love. It'll be more of a political thing as opposed to I don't know. Maybe it's a misdirection. But yeah. Who said femboy mercenary? God damn it. To the left of Lysona Mar, I have... Oh yeah, sorry. And Lysona Mar is the spy master, just to clarify. In charge of... We don't yet know exactly what that means, how the spies are helping them, but they're probably spreading out a little network to influence lords and kind of spread misinformation and do all that stuff. But yes, this guy on the left is Sir Tristan Rivers. So Tristan Rivers takes 1/4 of the Golden Company that actually successfully land on Cape Wrath without being dispersed by the storm. He takes 1/4 and he marches up to Crow's Nest, which is the seat of House Morrigan. So that's a sigil there, the black crow on a kind of dark green. He takes that from House Morrigan. In the top left, we have Sir Mark Mandrake, who lands on the island of Estamont by accident, and he goes, screw it, and so he takes the castle of Greenstone. Bear in mind, these are all seasoned professionals, and they are surprise attacking, so no one knows what's going on. When Jon Connington takes Griffin's Roost, which was his seat before he was exiled by the Mad King, Griffin's Roost was like, when he takes it, they burst through the gatehouse and then charge up to the castle and start grappling up, and no one knows what's going on. All the garrison are like, wait, what's happening? The garrison are completely just confused and shocked. They tried pouring cold oil on the attacking Golden Company mercenaries because they don't have time to heat it up. They're just like, oh fuck, wait, a whole bunch of mercenaries have come out of nowhere and they're attacking us for some reason. They climb the walls, get the oil, and they're just like pouring like cold / lukewarm oil on people and just like minorly inconveniencing them. So yeah, they take that with ease. Who else do we have? We have Sir Laswell Peake from House Peake, which is not an extinct house or a banished house. They have just lost their power. They used to own 3 castles. They owned Starpike, Whitegrove, and Dunstanbury. Dunstanbury being the castle they stole from House Manderley before driving the Manderleys up north from the River Mander to the southeast of the north under Stark rulership. But then, due to supporting the Blackfire rebellions, they kept losing their land. So they ended up losing both Whitegrove and Dunstanbury. Now, despite their sigil being 3 black castles, they only have 1 black castle. Not on their sigil. I think they still have 3 on their sigil, which is embarrassing. But they only own 1 castle, which is Starpike. So they've lost quite a lot. So this is Sir Laswell Peake, and he takes the reign house of House Wild. So if you remember House of the Dragon, House Wild is the house of Ironrod, the Master of Laws, Lord Jasper Wild. Crazy Whirlpool sigil there. And then finally we have a Black Balak, or Black Balak. Don't know how you pronounce that. On the right here. He's a Summer Islander who's dressed in the classic feathery cape, and he is the commander of the archers of the Golden Company. And that's very, very important for the theories about the Battle of Steel. He has all kind of expert archers beneath him. He has longbowmen, he has crossbowmen, and he has like an elite squad of fellow Summer Islander archers who have, I think it's like Golden Heart longbows or something like that. So yeah, this is an eclectic mix of characters. There are even more members of the Golden Company. I'm not going through all of them. There's someone called Sir Chain and so on. But yeah, these are just the important ones for now. Next up, we have Team Baratheon themselves. I think before we dive into this, I'm just going to have a quick read of the chat. There's a lot of chatter going on. I don't want to miss it. God, why did I ever stream with 1 monitor? What was I thinking? Yes, someone in the chat is noting that there are some Strongs in the Golden Company. Yeah, because House Strong is extinct now, and yeah, I think there are some Strongs, or at least people claiming to be Strongs in the Golden Company. Are there? Let me just double check that. Because the thing is, in the Golden Company, you can like choose your own name, so people could just be pretending. Like, you know, Sir Something Mud could just be. I don't think there are any Strongs in the Golden Company. Oh no, there is. There's someone called Duncan Strong. Yes. And there's a Dennis Strong as well. Cool. So he could be House Strong descendant, or he could have just taken that name. Bum bum bum. I don't know how much white noise you can hear, by the way. My new PC, while it is amazing, it's very loud, very noisy. So I'm definitely getting a new mic as well. I want a more professional mic. Why does Mandrake have a giant open wound on his face? He's described as having that. Let me see what the description is. So let me go back. So that comment was talking about the guy on the left, Mark Mandrake. Mark has this is according to the wiki, Mark has a pock-scarred face with a hole in one cheek where a slaver's mark has been burned away. So yes, an ex-slave who's burned the mark or tattoo away from his face. That's pretty badass. Yeah, Boomler says, imagine being a Connington guardsman and suddenly over 1,000 sellswords are attacking your totally safe castle. Yeah, like you have no reason to suspect any battle is happening. You are just chilling. You're just relaxing. You're just guarding this castle for the 50th time that day. You've been doing this for years. You're just standing on the battlements, looking out, having a cup of tea, trying not to fall asleep. The War of the Five Kings is over. And then, boom, a bunch of Golden Company sellswords out of nowhere just charge in. You're like, get the oil. I think the Golden Company lose 4 men. I think they only lose 4 men during the entire attack, if I'm remembering correctly. How much do I need to pay you to speak with the Kermit voice throughout the rest of the live stream? I couldn't do Kermit voice for a whole live stream. Peak still owning land after everything they've done is crazy. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Not only did House Peak support the first Blackfire Rebellion, which, many houses did, they then supported the second Blackfire Rebellion. After the second, there should barely be anything left. And if that's not bad enough, there was then the Peak Uprising, where they rose up against King Maekar Targaryen, and then while Maekar was storming Starpike, he was crushed by a boulder. How is House Peak still alive? 2 Blackfire Rebellions should have stripped them down to bare minimum, if not wiped them out. But them rising up in rebellion and killing the king, they shouldn't exist. Like, I need to know the justification for why House Peak is even around. And fun fact, House Peak is a nod to Mervyn Peake, the author, who wrote the Gormenghast trilogy. And so the 3 Black Castles represent the 3 books in the Gormenghast trilogy. The protagonist is called Titus. So in A Song of Ice and Fire, the current Peak Lord is Titus Peake. I haven't read that trilogy, but I do want to. Someone said they enjoyed the Smash or Pass. I had fun with that one. That video is doing very well. I was kind of... Whenever I released a shitpost video, like ranking A Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers on April Fools, and ranking A Song of Ice and Fire house words, and the cooking video, usually they kind of flop because people aren't in the channel, aren't part of the channel for that. That's kind of like the extra tasty bits, the tasty shit posts. But this time round, the video like initially flopped and then suddenly blew up, and now in terms of ranking, it's doing 2 of 10, and it's got like 30k views in a few days. I'm like, oh, people like the Smash or Pass. That was very. Oh, it also helps. Not to go too much into it, but the new PC means I can actually edit video clips without DaVinci Resolve lagging, so it's so smooth. You're going to see way more videos involving clips from things, right? So my next video is going to be a book versus show. There will be clips from the show, and I want to do more of that stuff. It's risky in terms of demonetization, but it's easier to do now because less lag. And when I do Witcher content too, that'll be important. Okay, so moving on, yes, Team Baratheon. So they are rebelling against the Iron Throne, which is kind of in the shitter because Cersei is a true accelerationist. She has accelerated the downfall of the crown. She's completely driven a wedge between House Lannister and House Tyrell. She's empowered the Faith Militant, which is now dominated by the Warriors' Sons and the Sparrows, and it's led by the High Sparrow, and yeah, that's all going to shit. And now she's basically been humiliated with the Walk of Shame, and now the Small Council... Well, Kevin Lannister tries to build the Small Council up into being actually competent. You got Randall Tarley, you have Paxter Redwine, you have Maester Pycelle, you have Kevin himself, you have Mace Tyrell, etc. But unfortunately, Lord Redwine is busy fighting the Ironborn. Mace Tyrell is... Well, we'll get into that into a second. But yeah, you have Kevin Lannister and Maester Pycelle are murdered by Varys because he's like, you guys are way too stable, and I want instability. I want a path for Cersei to probably come back to power and continue the Lannister-Tyrell beef and continue making the wrong decisions and continuing to drive the realm apart so that it'll be easier for Aegon as the handsome, brave young king to overthrow the evil Mad Queen, which is probably where we're going. But in terms of the actual Battle of Steel itself, I think it's going to be Mace Tyrell versus Aegon. So, we'll talk about that in a sec. But just a breakdown of each of these characters. Mace, by the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons, Mace Tyrell is on the small council and he's saying, listen, I do not want to... Oh, and he's sitting in a wooden chair that's been sculpted in the shape of the hand, because he's a cunt. Anyway, Mace is like, I'm not going to march to Storm's End, and I'm not going to march to face these sellswords, these so-called sellswords, until Marjorie Tyrell has been released by the Faith. And then in the Arianne sample chapter, we learned that Mace is marching down, so that kind of implies that Marjorie was released by the Faith, found innocent, something happened. But Mace Tyrell wants to march and face them himself. He's a bit of a blustering buffoon, if I'm being honest. It's certainly up for debate, so Quinn and I did a collab video on his channel about whether Mace Tyrell is a secret genius. I don't think he's either a secret genius nor a complete idiot. I think he is, a smart man, but he's an oaf. He's a boorish oaf. He's not dumb, but he's not a genius. He's a boorish oaf, and he's overconfident, and he keeps taking credit for battles. So the only battle that Robert Baratheon lost in Robert's Rebellion was the Battle of Ashford, I believe. He was defeated by Randall Tarley, but Mace Tyrell took all the credit. And then during the Battle of the Blackwater, Stannis was defeated in part by the Reach Lords, and I believe Randall Tarley led the van, or the centre. And then Mace Tyrell took credit for that and rewarded himself by taking Florent land instead of giving it to Randall Tarley, etc. So he's high on his own supply, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna crush this Aegon guy. And speaking of Randall Tarley, here he is on the left, the brutal, martial, nasty father of Sam Tarley, who interestingly keeps downplaying the threat of Aegon in that epilogue. He keeps saying, oh, who is this pretender? He's just a boy, who cares? And the Golden Company, they're just adventurers, right? Don't get distracted by them. So he could be downplaying them because, again, he's just a bit of a dick, or it could be that he is genuinely on their side. Maybe he's on Team Aegon, baby. Maybe he's a Targaryen loyalist, right? He did fight for the Targs after all. Maybe he's like, this is falling apart. I fucking want Highgarden for myself, or whatever. I'm going to side with Aegon and overthrow these clowns. I want to overthrow Mace because he's embarrassed me, keeps taking credit. He took Brightwater from the Florents and gave it to his son Garland, even though Randall Tarley is married to a Florent. So his son, Dickon Tarley, could actually claim that. His son has the best claim because his mother isn't a traitor, because she's at Horn Hill. So, I didn't expand on it too much in my animated video, but it's possible that Randall Tarley will join Mace and stab him in the back, or maybe will stay in King's Landing to open the gates for Aegon, etc. We'll have to see. Or maybe he is loyal to the crown. He might not be one. Excuse me. He may not be one of the friends in the Reach, but he probably is. My guess is he is one of the friends of the Reach. I don't know. We'll have to see. Anyway. Oh, and here we have Tommen, who's just a kid. He has no idea what's about to hit him. And then on the right we have Lord Mathis Rowan. Mathis Rowan is currently sieging Storm's End. Right, so during Robert's Rebellion, Mace Tyrell and Mathis Rowan sieged Storm's End for like a year or so, a couple of years, and then they meekly gave up. So they just camped and played games, watched men wrestle, had feasts. Like they did nothing all war. They were just chilling. And currently, he is sieging Storm's End again, but because it's owned by it's being held by Gilbert Farring, the Stannis loyalist. So Mace Tyrell actually left this siege to come back to the capital to try and mop up the aftermath. He's going to come back and join Rowan, but perhaps like Randall may be a friend in the Reach. Rowan may also be a friend in the Reach, perhaps. The justification for that is we don't know much about him, but he has a claim to Highgarden, as several lords do, because he's directly descended from Garth Greenhand. Like he has a stronger claim to the Tyrells, who are just stewards of the Gardeners, who are empowered by the Targaryens. So Lord Rowan could be like, hey, I want Highgarden for myself, and I'm also sick of sitting around here besieging Storm's End. Give me something to do. And also, the only other thing we know we can gauge from his personality beyond people just like generally seeming to like him and respect him is that Tywin announces to a bunch of lords in the third book. He's like, listen, here's what we're gonna do. Is it the third book or the second book? I think it's the third book. He's like, here's what we're gonna do, everyone. Listen up. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring Gregor Clegane to justice, and we're gonna send his head to Dorne. Because he was a brutal monster and he killed Elia Martell and her kids, and we want to placate the Dornish, We want to appease them. And then Mathis Rowan was like, apparently he had a look of, he looked fit to gag. He looked like he wanted to gag. He was like, his face was like, what are you talking about, Tywin? You're the one who ordered their murders, you hypocrite. So that's the only tiny shred of evidence, really, that he might be like, fuck Tywin, fuck the Lannisters, I'm going to side with this Targaryen who's coming in. And that leads into the falling of Storm's End. So it can go a few ways. It could just be a plain old simple Aegon and the Golden Company kill Mathis Rowan, slay them all, storm the castle, boom, they have it. However, in Griffin's Roost, John Connington is like, I don't want to take Storm's End by force. I want to take it by guile. By guile. So he's going to sneak his way in. He's going to be stealthy, okay? How can he do that? Well, the common theory is that what's going to happen is they're going to walk up to Storm's End and say, hey guys, it's us, the Golden Company. Yeah, Stannis hired us. Stannis is up north of the wall. He got a loan from the Iron Bank. And he hired us, so we're on your side. We've got provisions, we've got some food, or we better believe we've got some tasty salmon. We've got some Nando's, we've got the Sunset Burger, even though they've got rid of their Portuguese roll and they've replaced it with a new kind of Portuguese roll, which ruins Nando's, so I'm never going to order from them again. But anyway, sorry Gilbert, I'm getting distracted. We have all kind of provisions. Let us in, let us in. And then they enter, and they go, psych, and then kill everyone inside. Boom. We hold Storm's End. Alternatively, they might not kill Mathis Rowan. What they might do is sail into Storm's End, because you can get in by sea by going through a cavern and being let through a certain way, and they could go in that way, and then when they're inside, they kill everyone. Right, so they could kill the Rowans and then sneak inside Storm's End by guile. They could kill the Rowans and storm Storm's End. They could sneak into Storm's End, then kill the Rowans, etc., etc. Or the guile is twofold. One, they sneak into Storm's End, and two, they go to Rowan and they're like, we're not going to attack you, we're going to parlay, join us. And maybe they convince Rowan to join them. They could already be friends in the Reach, or maybe they're convinced. Who knows? But yes, some people think the Battle of Steel is going to be the battle to take Storm's End. But I think they're going to take Storm's End, then there'll be a Battle of Steel. Because in one of the Arianne sample chapters, I think the second one, it is revealed, among other things, it's revealed that they've already taken Storm's End. So that shit could be happening off page. It could happen on page, but it could be off page where it's like, they've already taken Storm's End. So I don't think there's going to be a big battle. But it'd be weird for George to release a sample chapter that spoils the fact that there was a big battle and Storm's End were taken. No, I think they took it by guile, as John Conn said, and in that same sample chapter, Arianne is told that Mace Tyrell is marching to Storm's End. The battle will be Aegon and the Golden Company waiting outside Storm's End, like, come face us, and attacking Mace head on. And they might not be waiting outside Storm's End. They might try and ambush them or something. But it'll be in the field, because Aegon has already clarified, I want to fight my enemies in the field. I don't want to hide behind walls. I don't want big sieges. I want to get this done as soon as possible. And Jon Conn, looking at his stony-ass arm, is like, yep, I want this done as soon as possible too. I completely agree. Thank you for the super chat from Jay Harris, who says, I don't know if Streamlabs is working, but do you think the Merryweathers are not the oldest friends in the Reach, working for Varys since the Mad King? Streamlabs should be working. Let me have a look. Yes, there is a donation. A donation did drop. I don't know if I've set this so that donations appear on screen. They should do. If they don't, then I'll certainly adjust that for the next stream. Yes, I'll read out that donation in a sec. But the super chat was, Do you think the Merryweathers are not the oldest friends in the Reach working for Varys since the Mad King? Ooh, since the Mad King. So the Merryweather. So House Merryweather are the lords of, is it Fair Harvest or Full Harvest or something? Their sigil is a cornucopia full of food, and their lord is Owen Merryweather. Oh, hold on. There's a super chat. There's a Streamlabs donation that's also talking about the Merryweathers, which is I assume that's yours. Although your super chat via YouTube was £, and the donation via Streamlabs is dollars. So I don't know why that's different if you're the same person. Anyway, okay. So I'll also read the Streamlab donation, assuming you're the same person. The Streamlab donation said, on Friends in the Reach, how long do you think the Merryweathers have been Varys' puppets? After all, Owen Merryweather was Hand of the King after Tywin, and when Aenys' Aya moved from Tywin to Rhaegar, much to the benefit of any Black Viper return. Okay, so yeah, Owen Merryweather was Hand of the King, and then got away with it. He wasn't executed, he wasn't burned or anything, he survived. And then in the main book series, he's married to Taena Merryweather, Taena of Myr, she of the Mirror Swamp fame, who basically becomes Cersei's confidant, Cersei's ally and spy. But there are theories that she's basically spying on Cersei for her husband and probably for Varys. And then when shit hits the fan, the Merryweathers flee back to... Long Table, thank you. People are telling me that the seat of House Merryweather is Long Table. Thank you very much. And they're going to flee back to Long Table. So the implication there is, either they are just random Cersei loyalists, and then when shit hit the fan, they fled. But more likely, just because she's terrible at intrigue and politicking, more likely they were spying on her. Now, the theories are either she's a Tyrell spy or she's a Varys spy. Could very well be a Varys spy if we see them re-emerge supporting Aegon Targaryen, they could be the Friends in the Reach. It could be Rowan and Tarly, or it could be neither of them. It could just be House Merryweather. I think Friends in the Reach, refers to more than one house. I don't think it's just one house. I think Merryweather, I would say Merryweather for me is like 90% Friends in the Reach. Tarly is like 50%. And then Rowan, just because we know so little about him, maybe like 30%. What was the role of Crow's Nest in all this? Well, I think it's just momentum. They're just seizing castles that have all sworn to the Iron Throne, being like, you serve us now, right? We have hostages. We have... Excuse me, sorry, I'm hiccuping. Go away. Yeah, get rid of those hiccups. All right. Yeah, I think they're just like, we have your castles, we have hostages, your armies are now part of our army, march with us. And it's kind of like a domino effect is what they're going for. Yeah, either Varys spy or self-interest, someone says in the chat. And I think Varys spy is just more interesting. Maybe Tyrell spy, but I don't know, Varys spy, I think. The peaks will probably help too, maybe the Oakhearts. Oh, the peaks will. What's left of the peaks will probably go Blackfire. Right, anyway. That is how they will take Storm's End, but that's not what the battle is going to be. The battle will be after Storm's End. So let's look at the historical inspiration, potentially, for the upcoming Battle of Steel. And just to clarify, these are not my original ideas. These ideas are from the one, the only... the disappearing Brynden B. Fish. He's not really an online presence anymore, but he was one of the top A Song of Ice and Fire theorists and essayists back in the day. You know, I've been exploring some A Song of Ice and Fire theories for these essays, for these videos, and yeah, they're super engaging, they're super well written, they're unnecessarily verbose. A lot of the time, entire paragraphs you think, this could probably have been one sentence, but they're still lots of fun. So, Brynden B. Fish he's not a presence anymore online, but his blog, War and Politics of Ice and Fire, is still open, so you can see that whenever. I think I put the description to that blog, a link to that blog in the description of my Battle of Steel video, I think. Where was I? Damn, I ramble. I'm getting confused. Oh, yes. Yeah. Shout out Brendan B. Fish. Anyway, he came up with the Agincourt theory. So essentially, we know that in his own words, George R. R. Martin likes to plunder and pillage from history. So for the Red Wedding, he took from the Black Dinner and the Glencoe Massacre. For the War of the Five Kings, there's inspiration from the War of the Roses and the Hundred Year War. I nearly said the Thousands Year War. Sorry, the 100-Year War. I guess there's. Yeah. Anyway. And then the whole arresting of Marjorie and gathering up fake people to torture and claim they slept with Marjorie. That reeks of Anne Boleyn and Cromwell and Henry VIII. There's all kind of stuff. Bravos is kind of like Venice. There's all kind of like Aegon the Unworthy is kind of like Henry the Sixth. Maegor the Cruel is like Henry the Sixth, to an extent. Jaehaerys the Conciliator is like Henry the Seventh mixed with Henry the Second. A whole bunch of Henrys. Aegon the Conqueror is William the Conqueror. I could go on and on about all the various inspirations, right? From what George likes to do is he likes to take things from history and then times it by 1,000. Take real things and then go crazy with it. So it's possible we could see a larger scale Agincourt. So I need some water. I'm really getting some. I'm gonna dry through here. Someone's saying Brendan B. Fish passed away. I'm not sure if that's real or a troll. I'll double check that after the stream. So Maegor the Cruel, Richard III. He's got some Richard III in him, killing his nephews. So you could do all kind of comparisons. Oh, that would be a great video, wouldn't it? Comparing the Targaryen kings to their real life counterparts. Some more history, Haven baby. Let's do it. That would be fun. Oh, that would be really fun. Oh, yeah. The more I think about that, the more I like it. Comparing. Should we do it now for fun? Should we do it now? No, we have to carry on with the stream. Okay, I'll be super quick. Who wants me to do a quick comparison between the Targaryen kings and real life English kings? Or am I getting way too distracted now? Let's do it. Screw it. My live stream, I do what I want. Okay, so Aegon the Conqueror, William the Conqueror. Pretty basic. Aenys, I guess, can be seen as Aenys is a bit of a William Rufus in the sense of he had the William the Conqueror had an older son called William Rufus, aka William the Red, who then died without any children, and then his younger brother Henry I took over. So we have a similar thing with Aegon the Conqueror, 2 kids, the older one takes over, he dies, the younger brother takes over. So, and that makes Maegor the Cruel a mixture between Henry I, but more obviously Richard III and Henry VIII. Then you have, after Maegor, you have Jaehaerys the Conciliator, who, for me, that's mostly Henry II, right? Because you had the anarchy, the English anarchy, which inspired the Dance of the Dragons, although the aftermath doesn't necessarily line up. But you had the anarchy, and you had the realm had collapsed basically, and you had barons who were ruling as kings. They were forging their own mini kingdoms, building their own castles without permission, just like a multiplayer game of CK3. They were minting their own coinage. Henry II came in and was like, "I'm the king now." They called him Henry Castlebreaker. He came in and he tore down a bunch of illegal castles, and he slapped the barons into place, and he minted a brand new currency, and no other currencies were allowed, and he did a bunch of great stuff to kind of solidify his rule, and he also did some pretty nasty stuff like banishing the Jews and attacking, brutalizing the Welsh, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, we have Henry II is the biggest inspiration for Jaehaerys the Conciliator, I think. Then we have, what do we have after that? Then we have Viserys the First. So Viserys the First, I think. Yeah, I think Henry the First again, because here's the thing: Henry the First. Henry the First had a whole bunch of bastards. He had like 20 bastards. He only had 2 legitimate children. The eldest was his heir, and then he had a son and daughter, right? The eldest died in a shipwreck. And so that left him with just a daughter, and the daughter was Matilda. And she was married, I believe, to the... initially married to the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, so she was Empress Matilda, but then she went on to marry Geoffrey Plantagenet, who was a powerful duke in France. And so Matilda, so Henry I dies, Matilda's like, oh, I'm the queen now. But then Matilda's male cousin, that being Henry I's younger sister's eldest son, Stephen of Blois, was like, no, I'm a man. I know I'm claiming this throne matrilineally, but I'm also a man, so fuck you. It's the woman claiming the throne through the male line versus the man claiming the throne through the female line, and then you have a big civil war, leads to the anarchy, etc., etc. And so, in that regard, because Henry I named his daughter as his heir, and maybe didn't do a good enough job securing her as heir, you can compare him to Viserys. And yeah, Henry I ended up dying because he choked on... He died of a surfeit of lamprey, apparently, which can be interpreted all kinds of ways. Like, it could be he had a bunch of pie and then he, like, literally... It could be that, like, he died just because he ate so much. It could be he had a heart attack, he was unhealthy. It could be that he literally choked on lamprey pie. Surfeit of lamprey is a very strange phrasing. Someone said bro's name was Steve. Oh yeah, just to clarify, we had a King Stephen. We had a Steve. There has only been one. No one has ever been named Stephen again in terms of the royal family. But yeah, we have had one King Stephen. And then of course Matilda never takes the throne, but her son Henry II takes the throne. After Jaehaerys we have after Viserys we have Aegon versus Rhaenyra. That goes back to Matilda versus Stephen. And that ends with Matilda's son, Henry, taking over. Likewise, the Dance of the Dragons. Spoilers, by the way, so if you don't know this, you don't want spoiled for Hot D, mute this for a few seconds. But Rhaenyra's son, Aegon III, takes over. So Aegon III is kind of like Henry II to an extent, but he's also... Who else is he like? The kind of like the brooding... sad king, the depressed king. I'm not sure. But then we have Daeron I. So Daeron I, he's definitely got some Alexander the Great, but in terms of English kings, he's got Henry V. Henry V being the guy on screen right now. This is the son of Henry IV, and he was like, I want France, and so he invaded France, and he was very successful at invading France. Again, it's not as simple as like Crusader Kings, where you just like you launch your invasion and you spread. It's like he would go over and like fuck up a bit and go back to England and then go to France and then win the Battle of Agincourt and then go back to England again despite having won it. So it's kind of a bit messier. But eventually he and like France was embroiled in a civil war. So eventually Henry V actually took over France and became the king of England and France. But before that could be certified officially, he died of dysentery. So after almost becoming king of England and France and the United Kingdoms of England and France we could have had, that's an interesting alternate history, he shot himself to death. Rest in peace. But yes, Daeron the First, Daeron the Young Dragon, Henry V, Baelor the Blessed? Who's Baelor the Blessed like? Super he's probably... Baelor the Blessed is probably... I mean, he's definitely got elements of Jesus in his vibe. He's got elements of a little bit of Caligula, in terms of Caligula allegedly naming a horse as consul. Again, there's in the historiography, there's debate as to whether he did that because he was insane, he did that as an insult, like a weird sense of humour to insult the senators, or whether that was made up by contemporary historians to besmirch his name, etc. But he's got a bit of Caligula, he's got a little bit of Jesus going on. The big JC, who else has he got? He's got a bit of, I think he's got a bit of Canute, so that's like pre-Norman. These are the Anglo-Saxon kings. I think he's got a little bit of Canute in him. He's a bit of a silly Canute. Religious boy, I believe. Anyway, and then we move on to Viserys II. I don't know if Viserys II... Oh, Viserys II does, for me, have slight Henry IV vibes in terms of taking over from his nephews and being the administrator. Aegon IV, Aegon the Unworthy, again very classic. Henry, that's kind of Henry VIII. Henry VIII mixed with Henry I, because like I said, Henry I had a bunch of bastard kids, but only a couple of legitimate kids. Likewise, Aegon Unworthy only had a son and a daughter, but a bunch of bastard kids. And then after Aegon the Unworthy, we have Ares, who, the kind of like stuffy bookworm king. I'm not entirely sure who you could link that to. Daeron first. Daeron the Good. At this point, we're kind of going into... I think the comparisons are a bit less obvious when we go from Daeron to Ares to Maekar to Aegon V to Jaehaerys to the Mad King, etc. I mean, the Mad King is probably an exaggerated version of George, the King George III, the Mad King. Anyway, yeah, that was a tangent. Who's still staying for that history lesson? Have we still got viewers after that? Professor Haven has given you some interesting comparisons there. Okay, let me stop fucking around. So let's talk about Agincourt. Before we do that, though, thank you for the super chat from Pioneer10, who says Robert Baratheon equals Richard the Lionheart, Stannis Baratheon equals John Lackland, Renly Baratheon equals Arthur, Duke of Brittany. That's it. There's some interesting comparisons there. Yeah, Richard Lionheart, very much, the big, powerful, brave king who personally joins the Third Crusade, and there are stories of him like jumping off the boats before it's even fully docked and charging through the water with his sword or his hammer or whatever. He personally negotiated an end to that crusade with Saladin. He's the warrior king. The archetype of like the return of the king comes from Richard I. It's the king goes out adventuring. His younger brother is incompetent and slimy and a piece of shit, and his brother has to return to save the day. So John Lackland was the younger brother of Richard the Lionheart, and he was the regent, basically, of England, and he was pretty incompetent. He was also just known to be like very slimy. His second wife was a child. So the Westeros, I've often complained about this. Westerosi men marrying teenage girls who then die in childbirth, because of course they do, is really stupid. It's dumb law. And it very rarely happened in actual medieval times, but when it did, it was specific circumstances. One of those specific circumstances, for example, was Owen Tudor marrying Margaret Beaufort. Was it Beaufort? Yes, Margaret Beaufort, I believe. I probably got that wrong. Because she was descended from a bastard line of a previous king, and Owen Tudor, their son was Henry VII, who then ended the War of the Roses, being like, boom, I'm in power now. But yeah, he married her because it was war and it was kind of desperate, and she was like 13, but it was like, we need an heir as soon as possible. And it nearly killed her, and so she was like, I'm not having another child again, fuck you. And he respected her wishes in that regard. So that's kind of wartime panic. And then another example would be John Lackland, who we're talking about, who, after his first wife died, married a 12-year-old French girl. No reason. He said she was beautiful when he married her, because he's a creep. So yeah, and he's called Lackland because he fucking lost Ireland. He was useless. So the Return of the King archetype is Richard the Lionheart coming back, but then he died without children, Oh wait, no, I think he had a daughter. One of the classic daughter who mysteriously goes missing. Anyway, I know for a fact that John Lackland had an older brother called Geoffrey, who was trampled by a horse, who actually had a son, and that son went missing. So I think John Lackland may have killed him. But yes, John took over, King John, and then he's the hated younger brother. I think Stannis is more of a Richard III figure, in terms of how Richard III was vilified in Elizabethan England by Shakespeare. But yeah, I think he's also got some John Lackland in him. Interestingly, reading the Dragonbone Chair, there's a prince called Elias Lackhand, because he hasn't got a hand. It's coming. The video comparing Memory, Sorrow and Thorn to Song of Ice and Fire is coming. We got a dude without a hand. We've got a red comet in the sky. We've got icy elf demon people from the north invading south. It's crazy. Anyway, I have gone so... Focus, people, focus. Thank you for the super chat from Coleshot, who says, hello there. Hello, Coleshot. You're a legend. Okay. Boom, Agincourt. Let's focus. So, the Battle of Agincourt. Henry V is trying to invade England. Trying to invade France. France is divided in a civil war. So, he's taken some land, and some of the French army go to meet him. However, this isn't a unified army under a king or a prince, because they're all busy. Instead, it's a retinue of retinues, if you will. It's various counts ruling, commanding their own armies. It's all mishmashed, it's all unorganized, versus Henry, who has like a iron grip over his unified English army. So while the French army is larger, the English army has better strategy, got better tactics, and it's unified. So it's unified under Henry. It does this smart thing where you have the vanguard and the center and the sides, and the rear, etc. But then he had some archers who were hiding in the woods on either side. So the French army arrive, and they're staring at the English, and the English want the French army to charge so that they can shoot at the French army, both from behind the van, but also from the woods to the side. The French, meanwhile, are standing there like, again, this disorganized army, various counts jockeying for power. Also, like, the knights went in front of the archers and the men-at-arms and were like, we're going to charge out first because we're the knights and we're chivalrous and, we are brave French chivalrous knights. And they were just staring at each other like, okay, well, who's going to go first? Because, you're going to charge us, so we're going to charge you? And the French were like, I don't know, we've got more men, maybe we can do it. And eventually Henry was like, well, I want the French to charge because I've plotted an ambush here. So what they did, and I didn't mention this in my video, but they did a feint where he got his van to kind of charge slightly forward, and then the French panicked and were like, oh fuck. And so then the French charged to meet them in the middle, and then Henry was like, English people, stop. So then they stopped, and the French were charging forward. Again, the armoured knights going first, getting in the way, being chivalrous. Now, it had been raining like a motherfucker the night before, well, I think the week before, so the ground was all muddy. So all these horses were getting stuck in the mud, all these knights were getting stuck in the mud, and then from the side, the woods on either side, Trebecourt and Agincourt woods, they were firing arrows, right? And here's the thing, this is why people talk about the longbows, right? You had the English longbowmen. They made up a large part of the English army. Trained English longbowmen. And they were aiming not just for, the slits in the armour, so like in the visor or in the neck or under the arm, whatever. They were aiming for the horses. So they were just massacring horses. The horses were going down. The knights were flying. People were dying. Blood and mud everywhere. And the knights were getting stuck in the mud. And then they were being trampled by horses from behind. And those horses were being shut down. And then those horses and knights were being trampled again. A lot of them drowned in the mud. And then when the longbowmen ran out of arrows, they then charged the field and just started like annihilating all the knights who were stuck, right? Because the longbowmen weren't wearing heavy armor. Not all of them were even wearing pants, by the way, or trousers or breeches, whatever you want to call them. A lot of them had dysentery, and so Henry was like, listen, if you need to shit, I don't want you like fumbling and taking your clothes off and shitting in the bush. Just shit. Don't wear your breeches, right? So a lot of the archers, not a lot of them, probably like a minority, but they were standing there like half naked so that when they needed to shit, they could just like go to the side and shit without having to fumble with their clothes. So imagine these like shit-stained, half-naked, from the waist down, half-naked longbowmen just charging out with hammers and daggers, and some of them even took out the spikes that they had protecting them in front of them, and they were just like annihilating all the knights stuck in the mud. And then, of course, that led to a panic where a lot of the knights and men-at-arms started fleeing backwards, and again getting trampled again or trampling over other people, and it was chaos, and this army fractured, and then the French fled. And there were a whole bunch of hostages, and Henry was like, shit, I'm panicking now because they're going to regroup and they're going to attack, and we have like thousands of hostages. We actually have more French hostages than English fighters, which means if they got their morale back, they could just like start attacking us. So he panicked and started ordering the hostages to be massacred. But then someone was like, well, Henry, calm down. The French aren't coming back. They've retreated. And he was like, okay, stop massacring. Stop killing. And he won the Battle of Agincourt. He was like, shit, we had way fewer men, but due to strategy and cohesion and, you know, the terrain, the luck of the rain, etc., they won this battle. And then he ended up going back to England, as I said, then he returned, and then he nearly conquered France, and then died of dysentery, rest in peace. But Brynden B. Fish had the theory that... that the Battle of Agincourt will inspire the Battle of Steel, where essentially what you're going to have is the smaller but unified, cohesive, but probably even more so than the English army at Agincourt, this cohesive, trained force, where they're probably going to have Essos tactics. Maybe they'll have like a phalanx with their shields, they have the spears out. You're going to have a Black Balak, this fella, with his Summer Islander longbowmen and his with their Golden Heart longbows, and the people with the Dragonbone longbows and the yew longbows and the crossbows and all that stuff will be annihilating the Tyrell army. So you have Golden Company cohesion, you have the arrows and crossbows and everything tearing them apart. You even have the mud, because in the Ariane 2 sample chapter, someone mentions that it's been raining and all the routes have turned to mud, so it's going to be muddy. And then the ultimate comparison is that the French were seen as, you know, the noble, chivalrous knights who foolishly charged forward, and the mud and the longbows, etc., killed them. And it's considered quite symbolic of a battle. And George R. R. Martin, on a blog post talking about the Battle of Agincourt, said that this is paraphrasing, but he said that the English let loose hundreds of arrows and shot at the heart of French chivalry. And so the idea here is that who are more chivalrous than the Reachmen, right? The Reach is kind of like medieval France. It's sunny and fertile, and it's according to the Maesters, the birthplace of chivalry, right? Don't forget the glorious Order of the Green Hand, which used to exist back in the day. Not the crazy YouTube channel, just the actual military order. And it was all about chivalrous and virtuous knights. And so you can imagine a situation where Mace and all the knights are like, let's go, let's charge forward, huzzah. Who cares about proper strategy? Let's just boom, let's wipe out these dirty sellswords, these foreigners, and then they're going to get stuck in the mud. They're going to be annihilated by Black Balak and his archers. They're going to go flying. It's going to be horrendous. The Golden Company will let loose thousands of arrows at the heart of Reach chivalry. And then, of course, Aegon will be... I imagine they'll then mop up, and Aegon will be like, charge. John Constantine will be like, charge. They'll kill everyone. And the hostages thing, where Henry V started massacring hostages, we could see that again, but from John Connington doing it, because he's being more vicious and more Tywin-like. That's what Brynden B. Fish was implying. Was talking about in his blog, in his essays. He was saying that the more Tywin-like, brutal, running on borrowed time John Connington might be like killing some hostages. I'm not sure of the benefit of that strategically. And then Mace. What will happen with Mace? He could be captured. It could be that the Tyrells are forced to join sides with Aegon. I think more likely he dies, either as a hostage or he's killed. I mean, I feel like it would kind of be a fitting death for Mace if he's riding into battle and he just gets like shot into the mud. You know what I mean? This kind of pompous guy. But yeah, I think Mace is going to die because then it leads to the hand position being open, and then Cersei will probably worm her way back into being regent now that Kevin's dead, and will appoint a loyalist as hand, and then the crown will continue to crumble and collapse. And also it means that we get to see Willis Tyrell taking over as Lord in Highgarden, because according to George, Willis and Garland Tyrell will have bigger roles to play in Winds of Winter. Someone in the comments make an interesting point. They're saying the Tyrell army is like 20,000 horses and 50,000 infantry, if I'm not mistaken. It's way too much. This is versus the Golden Company, who are 10,000 men. The odds would be even bigger than Agincourt. Sure, but you know, this is George R. R. Martin making things 10 times bigger, right? I mean, something to note is that it's not the entire Tyrell army. It's not the entire Tyrell army, not yet, because I don't know why I said yet. It won't ever be. It's half of the army have gone with Garland Tyrell to siege Brightwater, right? The seat of House Florent. The Florents supported Stannis after the Battle of the Blackwater. Mace Tyrell is like, I want that for my son. So that half of the Tyrell army is currently besieging Brightwater to take it back. So it's only half the Tyrell army, which would be 10,000. If it's exactly split down the middle, that would be 10,000 horses, and then 25,000 infantry against 10,000 Golden Company. Yeah, that is actually, the odds are kind of ridiculous there. And the Tyrell army has Westermen and Stormlanders in it, says InGen Nate Kenny. Yeah, they are. Yeah. So I don't think it'll be so it probably won't be a direct parallel, right? It's not going to be, oh look, knights are charging and they're stuck in mud and they get shot with arrow, because that's a bit too much like Agincourt. Like, you want to make Agincourt bigger. That doesn't mean do the same thing but have the armies be bigger, or have one of the armies be bigger. I think there's probably going to be more to it, but I think the whole idea of arrows and strategy and mud, and I think all of that will play in. There'll be a kind of, and also, okay, we haven't talked about the elephants. Boom. That's what's going to change the tide of the battle. They're all going to get stuck in the mud, and then thick-ass elephants are going to come wiggling their butts and just going to go stomping over the battle. The elephants are just going to stomp over the battlefield and just destroy the Reach army. I don't know. But yeah. There we go. That's the Battle of Steel. We have explored, in both animated video format and live stream format, we've explored the Battle of Ice between Stannis and the Boltons and the Freys. Now we have explored the Battle of Steel between Aegon Targaryen and John Connington and the Golden Company and Mace Tyrell and his army. In terms of the aftermath, I mean, presumably, I think Aegon will team up with the Dawn, probably marry Arianne Martell. He'll unite the Stormlands behind him, and everyone else the Reach is fucking busy. Half of them are fighting the Ironborn, the other half will join Aegon. The Riverlands are busy overthrowing the Freys. The Vale is doing its own thing. The North is doing its own thing. I think King's Landing will inevitably be taken over by Aegon. I do think that. And that'll be lots of fun. Yeah, so I guess for the last stretch, let's do 10 more minutes. I'll answer any more super chats, any more donations via Streamlabs. Send them in, I will answer them. I'll prioritize anything that comes in. Otherwise, I'm just going to read the chat, I think. And I'll talk about future videos. How about this? So, here's the thing. So I want to do the Battle of Fire next, but I've been holding it off because I've not drawn any Essos art pieces. In terms of backgrounds and characters, all I have is, like, I think a backdrop of Meereen and a drawing of Daenerys, which I might revamp anyway because it kind of sucks. So I don't have any Essos. So if I'm to do the Battle of Fire, there are so many factions I need to draw. The Astaporians, the Yunkai, the Meerenish people, the Unsullied, the Brazen Beasts, the Shave Pates, Hizdar Zo Lorak, Kegan Zo Mo Kandak. There's so much to draw. It's nuts. So I thought, you know what? Another thing is that my Winds of Winter theory videos aren't doing as well in terms of views. Like long term, they're climbing, right? So I think they're nearly at 40k, but they're doing a lot. They're not doing as well as book versus show stuff, where I have characters in the thumbnail, just because it's very niche what I do, and even though people still love A Song of Ice and Fire and they're still kind of hyped for Winds of Winter, even though they're hyped for Winds of Winter, my theory videos aren't hitting in the same way they would have done like a few years ago. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I am slightly late to the party. I'm putting a new spin on things, but you know, I'm kind of late to the party. So what I'm thinking is, before I do Battle of Fire, because I don't want to spend ages drawing everything for it and painstakingly animating it, and then like no one watches it, I'm gonna do another book versus show. And my patrons already know this, but I'm gonna reveal it to you lovely people in the live stream. The next video is gonna be before the Battle of Fire. It's going to link in. It's going to be the real Barristan. We'll be exploring the show Barristan, comparing him with the book Barristan, and then that will lead into the Battle of Fire. And then after that, I'm probably going to do the real Euron and lead that into the Battle of Blood. In retrospect, I'm like, shit, I should have preempted all of these battles with like the real Stannis, the real Illyrio, etc. But oh well. Yezan Zokagaz deserves a great drawing. He's the like grotesquely huge guy, right? He's like the Jabba the Hutt guy. Oh, that'll be fun. Don't get me wrong, the drawing's going to be fun. Am I looking for animators? I don't know. I don't know if I'm making enough money as of now to afford animators. It would make things a lot quicker for sure. Drop me an email. Yeah, Screenbug. If you're interested, drop me an email. If you want my email, just go to the About section of my YouTube and press the button that proves you're not a robot, and then you'll have my email. And send it to me, and yeah. It would save me time, certainly. And it means I could pump out way more videos, because like at the moment it's like one every 2 weeks or one every 3 weeks. I want every week, right? And it's because it takes so long to draw and then to animate. So yeah, we'll see. Okay. What are the people saying? What are my people saying? The Haven Horde. And did people enjoy the Smash or Pass Valentine's Day special video, by the way? I can't believe that I spend so long in the animated videos and they get like, they kind of crawl up in terms of views, and then I do a Smash or Pass shit post with my girlfriend, and then it just I'm already at 30k views. I'm like, god damn it. All I have to do is put Marjorie Tyrell's booba in the thumbnail and people will watch. Bum bada bum. Will Jon Con take Storm's End in the same tunnel Davos smuggled Melisandre into? Yes, that's what I That's what I showed in my video. That they will, if they're not going in the front, they will kind of go around the back, either to like infiltrate and slay everyone, or to be like, "Hey guys, we're the Golden Company. Let us in. We're gonna help you." Instead of dying from dysentery, Aegon will die from a grayscale given by Jon Con. Ooh, yes, I've heard that. I've heard that theory. I'm going to say no. I don't think George is going for Aegon dies and Aegon wins everything, then suddenly dies like Henry V. I think it makes more sense for Daenerys and Aegon to have their Dance of Dragons together. And I don't know. I don't think it really adds much to his character. Like, the grayscale is like Jon Con's thing. Like, I don't see the point of giving it to Aegon, because then he would just slowly be like, "Oh fuck, I'm dying. I need to get an heir now." Like, I don't know if it'd be. Black Balak is a crazy name. It is a crazy name. It's giving like old school comic books where all the black characters needed to have the word black in front of their name. Now, we don't get enough of the Summer Islands and the Summer Islanders in the books. They seem so cool. Someone's asking about the real Tywin. Yes, I mean, yes. If there are characters that are in the book and the show, I am going to do comparison videos with them, if it's worth it. Like, I'm not going to do the real Yoren from the Night's Watch, right? But real Tywin, yes. See, it's funny, I did the real Varys, the real Sand Snakes, the real Bronn early last year, and then I was going to, like, keep on that trend because it turned out to be really successful. But then I just ended up going back into niche stuff, so, like, I need to push the real stuff because that's what gets the views. Yeah, real Tywin. That'd be a fun one. I want my real videos to be my book vs show videos to be a bit longer and more in depth, because like the Bronn one is fun, but it's ultimately just like, it's just this is what he does in the show and this is what he does in the books, and like I need a bit more analysis. I don't just want it to be comparison. Like I want to throw in a bit more analysis. The real Brienne, yep. I'm gonna do the real Brienne too. That'd be a fun one, for sure. How they massacred her in a show. She was massacred before season 8, by the way. Season 8, yeah, they kind of fuck with her. But season 2, where she comes across Stark soldiers who have raped some small folk ladies who have slept with Lannisters, and then she kills them and like slowly slides her sword inside one of them, like from his groin, like sadistically, and it's like, that's her first kill. When in the book her first kill is a feast for crows, she kills the brave companions, and it's like a big impactful thing for her, and in the show she just like sadistically slowly murders a Stark soldier. Really weird choice. I wouldn't say that massacred her character, but it was just a weird choice. What characters shouldn't I do book versus show on? Ned. There'd be no point in doing book versus show for Ned, the real Ned. He's kind of the same. Or Robert Baratheon, yeah. I think season 3 characters onwards are fair game, I think. In terms of characters that die, season 3 onwards, fair game. A real Rob would be interesting. Real Catelyn would be, yeah. I mean, that one would just be real Sansa. Yes, real Sansa would be really fun, actually. Yeah, the show makes her mean and depressed, that's true. Being traumatized means that I'm strong, and being strong means that I have to be cold and rude and bitchy, because that's what a strong woman is. A liberal Hollywood man writing strong women. Let's make them bossy and bitchy and rude and unlikable. That's what a strong person is, right? I can't believe my girlfriend passed on Sansa. That was a hot take. I can't believe I missed Oberyn Martell in the fucking video. I got the most obscure Game of Thrones characters, but I didn't include Oberyn. I somehow missed Oberyn. Ah, man. Oh, someone's talking about the fight scene between Brienne and Rouge and Biter in the rain. Oh, can you imagine if we had got that in a show? Can you imagine? The closest we got was Benioff and Weiss replicating Biter being stabbed through the back of the throat, like through the back of the neck, through the mouth, by Gendry with a spear. They turned that into Jon Snow stabbing Carl Tanner through the mouth with a sword. Why did I say that in such a clunky way? Why did I say that in such a clunky way? But yeah, it was a cool scene. Don't get me wrong, it's cool when Jon Snow stabs the legend of Janali through that's, and then like he pulls out slowly. It's really well shot, but it's complete nonsense. It's complete nonsense that like he knocks down Jon Snow and then he gets stabbed in the back by one of Craster's wives / daughters, and then he slowly turns and slowly walks up to her to kill her. It's like, bro, Jon Snow is right behind you. He's not dead. You like knocked him over. And then he gets stabbed in the back. He's like, well, no shit, yeah. Too many I said this before. Too many moments in Game of Thrones where a character slowly descends on another character and then gets stabbed in the back suddenly, and dies, and the music always builds up, goes dun dun. It's really lame. Like they did that so many times. I want to. Maybe I could do a video that's like a counter all those times. Oh, that's kind of dumb. I'll tell you what. I'm way more motivated to do videos that involve Game of Thrones clips, just because my train of thought. ADHD live streamer is not a great combo. Oh yes, because my DaVinci Resolve is so smooth now, and it took me only like a day to make that Valentine's Day video as I was editing down, because I cut out loads, right? And I was like, oh, I'm so ready. I want to do Accents of Thrones. I want to go through every single season of the show and be like, these are the various accents that we hear in the show, region by region, beyond the wall, the north, the south. Why does Davos Seaworth have a Geordie accent when he's from Flea Bottom? I don't know. Most Americans probably won't know what I'm talking about, but you'll learn something. It'll be fun. Bum bum bum. And yes, yeah, the real Tywin would be lots of fun, because again, the classic, as I've said before, he's seen as like the strong man, right? The apolitical, cunning strong man. You might not like him, but you have to agree he's done some good things kind of vibe, you know, the whole kind of like hard man for hard times, but he's a complete narcissist, he's a complete hypocrite. He's high on his own supply. He's not as great as people think he is, blah blah. People's memories are tainted by show Tywin. Book Tywin is a lot more petty, a lot more incompetent. And when I do my fantasy saga, I really want to have a character that really embodies the whole, yes, I am the strong, necessary, apolitical dictator, but he's actually a human being, so yeah, no, he actually sucks, because he's flawed. And is a slave to his own, you know, vices and wants and beliefs and mistakes and everything. Okay. Whoa, I'm really... Hold on, the chat is exploding right now, let me... Where was I? I've lost my place. There we go. Yeah, you better believe you're the Haven Horde. Smash or Pass was hilarious. Euron Greyjoy killed me. Oh, can I just talk about the comments? The comments are so... People are so furious, being like, Haven, I can't believe that you thought you mixed up Davos Seaworth and Jorah. That wasn't me. That was Lady Haven. I was trolling her. I was like, oh yeah. People thought that was me making the mistake. Come on, this is my job. You think I can't tell the difference between Liam Cunningham and Ian Glenn? Come on. Just an aside, but Natalie Dormer looked better in Game of Thrones during her 30s than she did in the Tudors in her 20s. That might be true, honestly. A fine wine. Yeah, the Natalie Dormer in the thumbnail. That's all I need, bro. my very successful videos both have Natalie Dormer cleavage in the thumbnail. It's that simple. Fucking ape brains. The apes that watch my channel. Okay, I'm gonna speed through. Oh, I'm so far behind. Can't do real Victorian because he's not in the show. Yeah, that's a shame. Or I could do the real Euron and then combine, talk about Victorian. No, not really. Rob is different enough, yeah. The real Giles Rosby. What ifs? Yes. The Blackfire What If was very successful. I said before that I feel like they're quite limited, but I will do the ones I can do. And no, they won't be AI. I won't do AI What Ifs. I need to do more shorts though. I also need to... Someone sent me that like someone was stealing my videos and putting them on TikTok with some mobile game underneath to enhance the brain rot. Like I need to double check that and like take that down actually. I keep losing my space. I'm trying to run through the chat to see whether I want to catch up. Where did I go? The real Carl Tanner. I mean, there's Clubfoot Carl, who's in the Night's Watch and is part of the rebellion, so Carl Tanner's kind of based off of him. Bum ba bum. Why liberal? You could be any political view bad writer. Is that reference to me talking about Hollywood liberal writers writing terrible women? Yeah. Yeah, of course you can. You can have any political view, left, right, centre, and be a terrible writer. I guess what I'm saying is that there's the stereotype of a self-professed Hollywood liberal who is anything but when they write, because they're incompetent. So they'll be like, I'm gonna prove how progressive I am by writing certain minorities, and then they end up writing a bunch of nonsense and a bunch of stereotypes, and it's just embarrassing. So the classic Hollywood strong woman in the last decade has just been someone who is physically strong and a great fighter, and also bossy and mean and rude, as opposed to what a genuine strong female character is, which is a super well written female character who's interesting and deep and flawed and dynamic. The real Harry Strickland. I can't wait to get all 2 views with the real Harry Strickland. The real Cole Tanner could be a fun April Fool video. I just compare him to Cole Clubfoot. Bum ba da bum. The real Cersei doesn't actually love her children as anything but extensions of herself. Doesn't have any compunctions about screwing her brother next to her son's corpse. Yeah, real Cersei will be lots of fun too. They're lots of fun. And I guess, yeah, the difference between, let's say, my videos and like an Alt-Shift-X, real Jon, real Tyrion, is that he goes deep into analysis, but with me, I'm specifically comparing like the books and representing that with animation versus the show, and being like, you know, exactly what happens descriptively. And I will throw some more analysis in there, but it's mostly like what are the differences side to side, as opposed to a super deep dive. Who stole my videos? I can't remember. I was informed about that TikTok account ages ago. People like the idea of Accent of Thrones. That'd be cool. Yeah, Natalie Dormer has aged well. She was in the last season of Inside Number 9 last year. She was in it. I was like, ooh, damn. She's in her 40s now. The real shitmouth, of course. What if Stannis won at the Blackwater? That would be a fun one. That would be a good one. And what I like to do is, well, what I did last time with my what if the Blackfire Rebellion succeeded, right? Blackfire Victory, where I went through every single rebellion, like what could happen to make them succeed. What I did there was I did a voice chat with my patrons on the Patreon Discord, and everyone just sent me their ideas and I put it all in a document. So I'd probably do the same. If you want to join a Patreon, join the voice chat. We'll probably in the future do some fun stuff where we break down. I get some advice, and when we come up with some awesome what if alternate history things, like Stannis winning the Blackwater, how that could happen, what the lead up would be, what the aftermath would be, etc. Boomler said someone should do what if Loras joined Beric Dondarrion. Yeah, that was cool. Boomler, one of my patrons, he wrote a little fanfic chapter about Loras joining Beric, and because we were kind of spitballing, coming up with this idea of Loras being the one who's revived by Thoros, like the burned rose. Yeah, and that of course changes the dynamic in terms of Renly and everything. I'm once again asking you to animate Sandok the Shadow's epic stand. I've seen you in my comments, bro. You want that animation. You want to see Sandok the Shadow. At some point, yeah. I'm not sure when, but I'd definitely do that. The real Glidus. We need animated Glidus in Alt-Shift-X. That would be fun. Real Glidus could be fun. Because I did the real Alt-Shift-X 2 years ago. I can't believe it was 2 years ago. My God. And that's the only video Alt-Shift-X has commented on. He's actually commented on that one. Real gliders could be fun, where I like... Oh no, I did Alt-Shift-X explained. The real gliders would be like... I talk about YouTube gliders, and then I have some like bullshit, but the real gliders, and it's like some weird deep lore nonsense. I don't know how I'd make that funny actually, but... Did I mention I'm willing to read people's works? Yeah, if people ever want to send me stuff they've written, I'd certainly read it. What if Kermit Tully created a puppet show? Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I know definitely for the next House of the Dragon, for the next season, I'm going to do a video that I've thought about for 2 years, which is basically like the real Dance of the Dragons, which is comparing it to the historical English anarchy, but that's just, I need to decide whether I want to have that as, whether I want to have my historical stuff on Fantasy Haven or make a separate History Haven account. There's something scary about branching out into proper history, because the A Song of Ice and Fire fan base is really nice. I start doing history videos, I'm going to be filled with people who are like, actually, you got that wrong. I'll be like, no. Too many moments in Game of Thrones where cringe happens. That sounds like a Supercuts Delight video waiting to happen. Every single cringe scene in Game of Thrones. Ranking Game of Thrones cringe with Quinn the GM would be so funny. Can you imagine? Oh, that would be fun, actually. I'm going to send him a message after this. Ranking Game of Thrones cringe, where we just like the cringiest scenes. Oh, another thing, now that, like I said, now my DaVinci Resolve is less laggy and I can get work done faster. If I have especially fun live streams, I want to record them and like transform them into shorter edited videos for the main channel. So I've only done that once, which was ranking every Game of Thrones house word, right? Where I took like several hours and trimmed it into 50 minutes. I kind of want, because I feel like I've got some live streams that would like go well in that format, like my dumb house phrase smash or pass. I feel like I could edit that down into like a fun hour or even half an hour. So I think I'll be doing more of that. I think that will be an easy way to get some more regular content out. Fun live streams, edit them down into some proper thing. It can even be with like reviews and stuff. Before I finish up then, I said I'd be done in 10 minutes. It's been 20 minutes since I said that, I think. Before I leave, send me your favourite cringe scenes in Game of Thrones in the chat. What are your cringe scenes? Oh, thank you for the super chat from Cuban Missile Dino Crisis. What a name. Is Shitmouth Azor Ahai? Let's break this down. Oh, that makes me think of those other live streams we did with Quinn where it was like randomly generating theories and then trying to argue our case and having the chat vote on whether we were... Yeah, I want to do that more. More live streams this year. More live streams, more with Quinn, etc. Yeah, I was going through a bit of a rough patch the first like month of this year, and I think I'm on the other end now, and I'm way more like, let's go. You know what I mean? I'm like, Is Shitmouth Azor Ahai? Born amidst smoke and salt, the smoke of the burning, war-torn riverlands that he's been fighting in as a member of the Mountains Men, and the salt of the tears that he secretly sheds when no one's looking, because all of the Mountains Men are brutal. Wrath the Sweetling, Polliver, the Tickler. But Shitmouth is the only nice one. Ironically, because he's got such a filthy mouth, but he's the only nice one. Maybe he cries. Maybe one day he's standing in a burning wreckage of some poor Mooten village burned down by the mountain, and he cries. And then he is reborn, not as Shitmouth, but as the prince that was promised, as Azor Ahai. And he is... Where is he right now? I think he's currently in Harrenhal. He will find a way up north from Harrenhal. He will ride up north to join the Night's Watch and become the 1000th. How do you say it? 1000th Fucking hell. Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and he will face down the others and defeat them. Long live Shitmouth. Video at the Muppet Tullies. I refuse. I outright refuse. Favorite speech no one talks about. No North remembers a broken man. A speech no one talks about. See, here's the thing. When I read the books, when I encountered a speech, I didn't sit back and think to myself, damn, that's a great speech. You know what I mean? It's like, it was just part of the flow of the story. Like, it was just part of what I was reading. I was so wrapped up in it. It's only afterwards that people were like, oh, the broken man speech, the North remembers. And I was like, what? What do you mean speech? And then I like double checked them. I was like, oh yeah, those moments. Oh, I love those moments. I just didn't see them as like, so I don't think I could. Are there any speeches? I can't think of anything specifically. A Real Hot D, where you compare the show to real history. Yeah, I would definitely do that. I would definitely do some real, I mean, the book versus show comparisons for House of the Dragon can only, excuse me, I yawned, can only happen, what was I saying? Oh, right, yes, when the character dies, right? So I did the real Rhaenys because she died in season 2. So once the character's dead, then I can do a book versus show for them. Otherwise, yeah, I'm kneecapping myself. What if Ormond Hightower survived? What if Jaehaera survived? What if Jaehaera survived? Utopia. We would be living in a land of milk and honey if Jaehaera survived and instead wasn't replaced with fucking Daenerys Targaryen. Stupid. If you think this has a happy ending, you've been paying attention for cringe. I don't think it's that cringe. It's annoying how many times people quoted it, but I don't think it's super cringe. The cringe we didn't have. Eliminated line from Ariane from the Cushing Library where she says she can seduce Balon Swan, but it would require more fucking in front of her dad. I don't think that's super cringe. I don't think that's too cringe. I misread that as fucking in front of her dad, but you mean she says to her dad, yeah. Every time Tyrion calls himself the god of tits and wine. I don't think that's cringe. I think there's a Tyrion being drunk. Oh no, I tell you, the big cringe from the show I think of is the joke scene. It's so unfunny and it goes on for so long and there's so many things they cut from the show, but they have time for Tyrion who's like, how about a joke? And then like Grey Worm makes an unfunny joke. He's like, I make joke. And then Missandei makes like a linguistic joke which no one cares about. And then Tyrion's like makes a joke about there being a fly in his soup, and it's so fucking boring. And it's like, ugh, finger up the bum. Honestly, I can't finger up the bum. Like, yes, it is cringe, and it's an absurd line, and it's stupid, etc., etc. But I can't pretend I don't find it funny. Like I do, I can't be mad at it. I can't be mad at Euron saying a finger in the bum to Jaime. Because at that point I was checked out. People checked out season 8, I was checked out season 7. I was like, I'm here for the ride. I'm here for the popcorn flick this has become. Sure, Euron wants to... Tyrion saying he didn't use slaves to get rich when he practiced feudalism. That's funny, yeah. Every time Tyrion makes a cock joke from Varys, season 6 onwards, yes, yeah. Littlefinger explaining his motivations while what? Oh, that's actual cringe. So like, the Tyrion cock jokes are like lame and eye rolling, but the Littlefinger scene in season 1 where he's like describing his motivations to 2 random prostitutes while he's making them finger each other, that is like actively that's like your body cringes when you watch that scene. You're like, ooh. Like that was like actually like weird and like, oh, first off, why are you saying your backstory? Why, and also, why are you making them do that? Oh, just weird. Kermit Tully's cringe. That's from the books, but that's cringe. You can't convince me otherwise. What if... A new what if idea. What if the Hightower boy hadn't farted in front of Oberyn and Elia? For those who don't know, Elia was thinking of marrying Baelor Brightsmile, who's the heir to Old Town. He's Baelor Hightower. And he farted in front of Oberyn and Elia, and she was like, I can't marry him anymore. And so instead she married Rhaegar. So if he hadn't fucking farted, the entire war would be different. That would be a fun video. When they switched Garrett and Will, that was cringe. Shut up. Shut up, Kenny. When they humiliate Edmure. Oh, yes. The final... No, okay. The final episode, the big dragon pit, like, Great Council meeting, the Great Council of 10 people involving a bunch of random... That was cringe. That was really cringe. And when Edmure was like, I want to be the king, and I'm like, shit, sit down, uncle. And it's like, yeah, that... And then it's followed by the council scene, where it's like, Bron's like, I'm a sellsword, and they're like, ooh, that was cringe as well. That whole episode's cringe, actually. The bad pussy is the obvious cringe. Yeah, bad pussy's cringe. The sand snakes just generally being cringe. The Pycelle fart scene, yeah, that was lame. That was, yeah, no, that belongs on there. I love how collectively, I feel like the entire audience, like the hardcore fans were like, did he just fart? Like, I remember online discourse, people being like, did I miss it? They didn't have Pycelle fart, right? He didn't shit himself. Yeah, that was so unfunny. The Peter Baelish scene with Roz is peak cringe. I don't remember that one. Littlefinger doing his dumb, like, Batman voice, especially season 3 and 4. Like, he takes it a bit more seriously in 6, 7, and 8, but like in 5, 6, 7, 8. But like 3 and 4, particularly Littlefinger's... No, and 2. Season 2, 3, and 4, it's like the actor just stopped giving a shit and was like, this show is a giant joke, so I'm going to treat it like a joke. Because season 1, he's acting fine. And in season 2, 3, 4, he's like, Harrenhal, I suppose that's off the table as well. The way he, like, Tyrion offers him Harrenhal and he, like, open mouth gasps, like, like a sassy, like, what? And then he just... And then I think the actor came out and was like, oh yeah, well, I'm playing him like a pantomime villain. It's like, the last way you should be playing Littlefinger is a fucking pantomime villain. Like, why did no director or writer step in earlier and like, Aiden, can you stop sounding like Irish Batman and go back to doing a normal voice like in season 1? Because it's really weird that you're like, Shanja. I'm a bit confused. The confused Baelish. I don't know if it's cringe necessarily. It's just there's a difference between a bad scene and a cringe scene, you know? Like, there are plenty of bad scenes in the last few seasons, but like, cringe is something else. Love is the death of duty, but sometimes duty is the death of love. Yo! Tyrion spitting bars! The way they both paused, like that was like a really profound statement. Okay, I don't want to end this live stream because I'm having so much fun, but I've run over. I'm gonna wrap up. Who's still watching this? Who's still watching this shit? Who here is actually watching my... How many viewers do we have? It's saying 175. Is that accurate? Oh well, this was lots of fun. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Join the Patreon, to Discord and video access and all kind of fun, cool stuff. And